Ethan Parker was the kind of man people trusted without question. He lived in a small town in Texas, worked at a hardware store, and greeted every customer with the same calm smile. To everyone around him, Ethan seemed peaceful, disciplined, and wise. But the truth was different. Inside his mind, there was a constant storm. Every morning, Ethan woke up with fear. Fear of failure. Fear of being judged. Fear that he would never become anything important in life. He compared himself to everyone around him. When he saw successful people online, negative thoughts filled his head. You're behind. You're not smart enough. You'll never make it. These thoughts followed him everywhere like shadows. At first, Ethan believed every single one of them. One rainy evening after work, Ethan stopped at a small diner near the highway. The place was nearly empty except for an old man sitting alone by the window. The man wore a brown hat and slowly drank black coffee while reading a newspaper. Ethan ordered food and sat quietly, lost in his thoughts. A few minutes later, the waitress accidentally spilled water on Ethan's table. It was a small mistake, but Ethan exploded with anger. "Can't you even do your job right?" he shouted. The waitress apologized with trembling hands. The entire diner became silent. Ethan immediately felt ashamed. He wasn't angry at the waitress. He was angry at himself. Angry at his life. Angry at the voice inside his head that never stopped criticizing him. As he lowered his eyes, the old man near the window spoke softly. "Young man, your thoughts are controlling you." Ethan looked up. The old man folded his newspaper and smiled gently. "Sit with me for a minute." Normally Ethan would refuse, but something about the stranger's calm presence made him listen. Ethan carried his coffee to the old man's table. The man introduced himself as Walter. For the next hour, Walter spoke about something Ethan had never truly understood before. "The mind is like a garden," Walter said. "Whatever you water grows. Fear grows. Anger grows. Peace grows too. But most people feed the wrong thoughts every single day." Ethan stayed quiet. Walter continued, "You think your life is difficult because of your problems. But the real problem is the story you repeat inside your head." Those words hit Ethan deeply. Before leaving, Walter gave Ethan one piece of advice. For the next 30 days, watch your thoughts honestly. Not your neighbors. Not social media. Your own mind. Be honest about what lives there. That night Ethan couldn't sleep. The old man's words echoed in his mind. The next morning, Ethan decided to try. He bought a small notebook and wrote down every negative thought he noticed throughout the day. "I'm not good enough. People don't respect me. I always fail." By the end of the day, the notebook was filled with negativity. Ethan was shocked. He finally realized the truth. The biggest liar in his life was not another person. It was the uncontrolled voice inside his own mind. Days passed. Whenever negative thoughts appeared, Ethan stopped and questioned them. Is this really true? Slowly, something began to change. One afternoon at work, a customer yelled at Ethan because an item was out of stock. Normally Ethan would react with anger. But this time he paused. He remembered Walter's words. Your thoughts are controlling you. Instead of reacting emotionally, Ethan stayed calm. I understand your frustration, sir, he said politely. The customer's anger faded almost immediately. For the first time in years, Ethan felt powerful, not because he controlled someone else but because he controlled himself. Weeks later, Ethan noticed other changes too. He stopped comparing himself to people online. He spent less time complaining. He started reading books before bed instead of endlessly scrolling on his phone. His mind slowly became quieter, more peaceful. But the greatest lesson came one Sunday afternoon. Ethan was closing the store when he found a wallet near the parking lot. Inside was nearly $2,000 in cash. For a moment, temptation entered his mind. No one saw you. You could keep it. You need the money. Old Ethan might have listened. But now he understood something important. A dishonest action always begins with a dishonest thought. He stood there silently, fighting the battle inside his own head. Finally, Ethan opened the wallet and found the owner's ID card. An hour later, he knocked on the door of a small house across town. An elderly woman opened the door nervously. When Ethan handed her the wallet, tears filled her eyes. You have no idea what this means, she whispered. That money was for my husband's surgery tomorrow. Ethan smiled softly. On the drive home, he realized something powerful. Controlling your thoughts is not just about peace. It shapes your character. Your choices. Your future. That night Ethan returned to the diner, hoping to see Walter again. But the waitress told him something surprising. "There's no man named Walter who comes here regularly," she said. Ethan described him carefully. The waitress looked confused. "I think you're mistaken. I've worked here for 15 years. Ethan looked toward the empty window table where Walter had once sat. A strange feeling filled his chest. Maybe Walter was just a traveler. Maybe a stranger sent at the right moment. Or maybe life sometimes sends people to wake us up before we destroy ourselves. Months later, Ethan became a completely different person. Not richer, not famous, but stronger inside. His thoughts no longer controlled him. He controlled them. And that changed everything. One evening, a young coworker asked Ethan why he always seemed calm during stressful situations. Ethan smiled and pulled a small notebook from his pocket. The same notebook he had started months ago. He handed it to the young man and said quietly, "Your mind can either become your prison or your greatest power. The choice begins with the thoughts you allow to stay." The young man nodded silently. And Ethan looked out the window, realizing the greatest victory in life is not defeating others. It is learning to defeat the chaos within yourself.